shining through the night. Feel the beat drop, it's a rhythm in our soul. With every step we take, we're closer to our goal.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Warrior Vetrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, JJ Hardy. And again, the purpose of this podcast is literally just to inspire veterans who are going through transition to get out of their head and get back in the game. I want to do that by bringing great people who have done great things, who are also veterans, on here to show that it can be done. My guest today is De'Angello Wiggins. He's actually still on active duty, but he's out there killing it, doing things like writing this book. But I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him go into that. But he's also a warrant officer in the Army, doing the same stuff that I used to do, which is just losing your mind and doing a bunch of glorified cat herding every day. But anyway, De'Angello, how you doing today, buddy?
How are you doing? I want to thank you for letting me come on here and be on your platform. Thank you so much.
Oh, man, of course. And, this day is this 30 minutes that we have here today is all about you. So thank you for coming on here and sharing your book, sharing your story, and just sharing what you've done so that other people can be inspired by what you've done. So if you don't mind, would you be willing to give us a little bit of background on yourself and maybe get to a little bit about Wednesday?
Yes, I most certainly shall. So, born and raised in one of the greatest states in the Union, Virginia. I come from humble beginnings. I'm a country boy at heart. I joined the United States Army in 2007, August 2007. So it has been a glorious 17 years. I have been across the globe. I have been to Afghanistan. I've been to Kuwait. I've been to Korea. I've been to Croatia, Germany, all over the United States. And I've had the opportunity to serve with great people like yourself in this crazy world we call the United States Army. At this point right now, I am a mobility officer, but I don't really think I'm doing such big mobility officer things like I was at the brigade. Up here at Army Sustainment Command, I am dealing with funding and dealing with, doctrine and just kind of interpreting it and working with the civilian sector. So that's why you see me in my nice little clean get up today, because we had business casual. So I'm going to take advantage of that every Friday because that's just the guy I am. So, but I'm married with 3 boys. 2 of my boys are autistic nonverbal. That's Cameron and Levi. And my youngest, he's neurotypical. He talks. He's fine. So as you can imagine, my house is full of all sorts of energy and noises and fun. But my wife, Christina, and I, we make it work. So it has been me and Christina have been married for 14 years. I hope I got it right because she might go upside my head. 14 years, and our anniversary is coming up in a couple of months in October. So it's been a great experience being able to, like I say, serve alongside people like yourself, as well as perform this job, being a glorified carrot herder, as you so emphatically put it. So yeah.
Well, I did it at the brigade level at 2 different brigades, and then the Army decided that it was my time to move on, and so I did. But that's at the brigade level. That's basically all it is. You kind of have to know everyone's equipment and what they need for their mission almost just as well as they do, just so that when they push it, you're not screwing things up. But once it gets past that, I was at a sustainment command before when I was a sergeant first class. So I got a little bit of experience with that too.
Yeah.
I worked right alongside my fellow mobility warrants over there before. That was what I did right before I went to walks. So, but enough of that. I read a little bit of it so far, but it's not hard to read. It's actually a really, really good book so far. I just got it in the mail within the last couple of days, so I really haven't gotten too deep into it as far as I could in the last couple of days. But tell us about Wednesday. But don't just tell us about Wednesday, if you wouldn't mind, De'Angello. Tell us about why you became an author, the process I know how busy the military is. So you had to find time while you were on active duty to write this book. And now I see stuff on social media all the time about how you are going out and marketing this. You're doing book signings, you're promoting your book. I mean, how in the heck do you have time to do this? And why did you choose to do this while you were still on active duty?
Well, time, I tell you right now, I'm still trying to find time to mitigate it and get all the business marketing pieces in there. It is, I didn't realize that was going to be such, so robust. I did not, I did take it for granted. But I'll ask you your first question first. What started me to want to be an author was I just wanted to tell a story. I always had these.
Oh, looks like he might have lost his signal. So while we're waiting for De'Angelo to come back, what I'll go ahead and do is I'm just going to read a little bit about his book just by going off the back of it here. So his book is called Wednesday. It's you know what? He's back. So I'll go ahead and let him get back going with it. You lost signal for a second, buddy. So
Oh my goodness.
we didn't really get too far into it yet. You were talking about why you became an author.
Okay, yeah. So why I became an author? Like I said, it was really just me wanting to tell a story. I love movies, I love film, I love reading, and that was I thought this might be an opportunity for me to kind of tell my stories and kind of pull individuals in because one thing I've learned about books is books will transcend time. Animal Farm is one of my favorite books, and I read Animal Farm and I think it was about fourth or fifth grade, and I could still read that book and get the same feeling. So I wanted to share that kind of experience with my readers. And Wednesday is a romantic suspense. It's set in Colorado Springs, which Colorado Springs is very very near and dear to my heart because that was my first duty station. Definitely a major culture shock, and I could talk on hours about that, but Colorado Springs was very very near and dear to my heart. It's where I met my wife. It's where I did my first deployment. So it has a lot of good energies and good vibes. And so I said, if I'm going to do my first book, why not do my first duty station and try to capture the feelings that I had when I was there. And that's where Wednesday came about. Now, you're getting the good juicy stuff behind the scenes. So I'm gonna give you all the good juicy stuff while we got time. So the book wasn't originally titled Wednesday. It was
Okay.
originally titled Thursday. But
Okay.
me not doing my research, I thought that if I titled it Thursday, I could head go into copyright, issues. But after doing my homework, I found out that wasn't the case. so I said, but I had already made the changes for Wednesday. So it actually worked out because my wife, we and her had a lot of conversation about it. She said, hey, if you want to go Wednesday or Thursday, whatever one works, you can drive the story off of it. So we went Wednesday. The other piece that a lot of people don't know is originally supposed to be one book. It's supposed to be one book. And what we ended up doing, we split it up because my wife had a good idea, which I didn't want to give her credit at the time, but I got to give her credit now. She
You should.
said that if you split
That's
the
smart.
book up, if you split the book up, you'll be able to release this portion Wednesday a little earlier than the entire book because I was looking at around 800 to 900 pages for the actual book itself. So this was actually a happy median, and I still kind of came in around the 300 page mark. It would have been more, but I cut out a lot of stuff to get it out there to the audience. So it's just been a wild ride. Me and her kind of going back and spitballing ideas. Obviously, I had the idea in my head to put it on paper, but there were some things that, in hindsight, because they say hindsight is 2020. In hindsight, she definitely helped out a great deal. As well as the other individuals I mentioned in my book, Billy Tyson, Latia, Chair Parks. I mean, everybody, a lot of individuals. Keith Weiss. They came together whenever I needed them to ask them questions, and they were there to be my readers, and they really were supportive. So it's been a crazy ride, but as you can see, we are here. And
And here,
just for everyone else who's listening right now, I am working on the second part, and I'm going to go ahead and give it out to everybody. It's going to be titled Thursday because I didn't get a chance to call the first one Thursday, so so now I can do
seems
that.
appropriate. Seems appropriate.
Mhm.
So obviously you've had to do this while. So you said that was your first duty station, and you've been
Yes,
in 17 years. So you just
yes,
this just came out in what, the last 6 months?
yes, yeah.
So
December 24th.
December 24th. Okay, so I wasn't too
Mhm,
far off, but
mhm.
that means that either A, you decided to do this recently and then you just put it out there, or you've been working on it this entire time. So, um, did it take you all those years to write this book, or when did you decide I need to start writing this?
Look, I'm gonna give you all the juicy details. So I started writing it in Colorado Springs. But the rough draft, if I may be so blunt and bold, was abysmal. It was not. It is not the book you see today. There were a lot of things that were missing. It was a lot of me going back and forth, changing things. And so, I think when I was in North Carolina at Fort Bragg now, that's when I actually said, you know what, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to actually write the book. And I made a Facebook post about it. And what ended up happening was people like, oh yeah, yeah, read the book. And I was like, oh man, I might have dug myself into a hole here. So,
Now you have
but
to do it.
I wrote the yeah, yeah, now I have to do it. Yeah. So I wrote the book and it ended up just being, a very, very tumultuous and great experience. Now, I'm gonna say this to anyone who's listening and anyone who's thinking about being an author. This is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. In a lot of ways, believe it or not, it's just like being a mobile officer. You have to get all this data, all this information, get all these individuals to kind of to give you the information, and then you got to put together a product that reflects the information and analysis you've conducted. And I'm never gonna sit here and say this was a sole operation. It was a culmination of so many individuals that lended their ears, lended their eyes, and some of their thoughts about how the book should go. And I would be remiss if I did not thank all the people who were involved and all the people who are still supporting me in this endeavor. But like I said, it is a definitely been a lot of time staying up to 3 in the morning, working, doing it during lunch while after I've done a report or done a product brief, or staying back late to work just so I can have some alone time to kind of just, you know, chat, type out, my thoughts in. And it's not something that can really be put into words, so to speak, because sometimes it's like an energy. Like, one day I might only crack out, I would crack out a half a page. And the next day I'll do five. The next day I'll do 10. The day after that I will only maybe do like a couple of words, so it became a body of its own. And I want that to be the case with all my books. I don't want to feel like I have to write them. I want to feel like that positive energy to put out a great body of work for others to share and enjoy with me. So yes.
Well, speaking of that, you called it a journey. What were some of the things that you didn't like, and what were some of your favorite things about writing a book?
Well, there's a lot more things I didn't like. No,
Well,
no, seriously, all jokes aside.
there's always good and bad, brother. I mean, that's just kind of the way everything goes.
I know. No, one of the things that I'm gonna start with the good first. One of the things that I loved about it was that it allowed me the opportunity to to really put forth my thoughts and actually look at an end goal. Like what was really deterring me at one point in time was work. It was work. I just didn't have enough time to do work, be with the family, and do this passion that I have. And once I kind of just looked at it and said, hey, you need to stick it all the way through, you need to finish it up, and I put like an end goal to it. That's when it really started becoming a little fun because I would write these scenes in the book, and I say, okay, after this scene, I can do this scene. So it kind of came a little journey, fun journey, so to speak, as me getting to my objective, my goal. The bad part. The bad part. This title, book cover you see right now, is the fourth book cover. There was one I had I put on social media that everyone liked, and I had the individual make it, and then she came back to tell me that the cover wasn't legit and it might have been some copyright issues, so I couldn't use that cover. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to another individual a couple of times, and we would have conversations, and it would never materialize. And so then I ended up finding the individual do this cover, and he charged me $800. $800 when a cover is typically around 200, 250, 300, maybe 400 on the high end. But the cover was really, really good. I couldn't walk away from it. So he was the only one who really got it right. So I thank him for that. But again, getting that cover was the bane of my existence for a while. And it was so bad that my wife, Christina, she said, when we do the book this time, you don't get the cover until you're completely done with the book. You don't worry about the cover until you're completely done. So I'm gonna go ahead and listen to her and be a good husband.
Even Smart man. Hey, when you're married a long time, I just had my 19-year anniversary last month. You just learn. Crazy. Oh yeah, you just learn that sometimes you have to compromise. And by the way, you are not the only smart person in that relationship. You gotta lean on the one that probably is thinking about a lot more things than you are, which in our case as men, that's always going to be the wife. Yes. So I have to say, you have some supporters on here. Since we've been on here, I just let you talk, and I put one of them up there. But Bree put up here that you're the best author ever. Bree also put up here that she loves how dedicated you are. Betty says, that's my baby.
That's my mom. That's my mom.
I figured.
Right of that right there.
And then Edwin Soto says, congratulations, bro. Well deserved.
Thank you.
You've done all this while serving on active duty. And, to me, doing what I'm doing now, I focus a lot more. We had the Sergeant's time training, then we moved on to NCOPD, and then as warrant officers, now we have WOPD, and every once in a while we're invited over to the OPD. And so when it comes to leadership, you mentioned that you had difficulty finding time, but you did it. So I would like it if you would share with us, some of the strategies that you came up with to find that time, because guess what? You did it. So that means at some point you just had to dig your heels in, figure it out, and do it. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, what some of those strategies are, or maybe just something that you did that made that a lot easier, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
Oh, definitely. As you know, leadership is a big piece of the arm. Hands down, whether you're NCO, warrant officer, or an officer. And what I had to do as far as being a holistic leader, I had, like I said, I had to dig my heels in and carve out time. But there's some things, there's some prerequisites before doing that. And one thing I always say when it comes to carving out time, because I'm taking away time from somebody else. So I may be taking away time from the Army, I may be taking time from my family. And I made it my business, say, hey, family, work first. That comes first. Your passion, that's never going to go away. That fire inside of you is never going to go away. So you just have to, kind of work around it. And that's where coming in with, 03 and 02 and 12 o'clock and during lunch breaks, where that actual little time I had, that I said, okay, I have this time available, so I might as well exploit that opportunity and just get a little typing in. Another thing that I would say that plays a part with leadership is being able to have strong subordinates to empower. All right. So being here at this location, again, I would be remiss if I didn't shout him out. Mr. Alante Washington, he's in Walks now. He was able to really help me with the onboarding process at ASC, because when I got there, I was kind of knee deep. I was about 80% complete with the book, maybe 85. And, that last 15 to 20% was really itching at me. But I have a job to do and I have a family to take care of. So, during all that time, the last couple of years, he made things a lot easier for me to kind of, hey, he's teaching me doing this, and then I have a little time during lunch to kind of get my mind right, do a little typing, and then go back and get back in the trenches in the fight. So I would say, obviously, time management, empowering the subordinates that are under you so you can have that time. Because in reality, we're supervisors. We are. We get the information we need. We create our little product, and then we distribute the information. In his situation, he was a supervisor, and I was getting all the information, and I was taking my notes down. But once I understood and got the process of the ball rolling, we had like a little battle rhythm, and we were able to move forward. And the last piece, as far as leadership goes, and again, this is just from my perspective, family. All right. And when I say family, I don't always just mean blood. I mean, those distant relatives you have, your army brothers and sisters. As a good leader, you have to be able to follow orders. So a lot of times, I would whenever I hit a wall, Bill Tyson would get in contact with me, talk to my mom, talk to my in-laws, talk to all my friends, my support system. And, they were, even though some of the stuff they were telling me, sometimes it was a little just, it wasn't always the best thing to hear. You're like, hey, you need to finish the book. What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm trying to finish the book. I got a job, I got a family. And, a lot of times they come back and say excuses. So keep drilling in there. So having that support system and having those other leaders to lean on when you're not, so motivated. Again, it's just a phenomenal thing.
You brought up something that, I don't want to get too far off topic, because this is really about you, but community, I have found that to be so important. And, from a leadership perspective, not just at work, you mentioned your family. Well, gosh, I mean, you'll learn this as you move your book forward. And of course, once it starts, gaining popularity, which hopefully that does for you, you never know how that's going to go. But the more people you talk to, the more and the more you get the word out, the more you have to trust and lean on the people that you meet out in the community. And without doing that, it's just like when you're in the military, like you are now. We can't accomplish these missions on our own. I used the term glorified cat herder earlier. And why are we a glorified cat herder? Because we're not the one moving the equipment. We're the one booking the plane, the train, the truck, whatever the case may be. But really what we're doing is we're working with all the people that have the equipment to make sure that we understand how much they're moving, and we are communicating with everybody that needs to be communicated with, the community, to make that happen. A mobility officer is just basically a big head of knowledge with how to get that stuff done. And everybody else is out there really doing the work, except for when we go do things like the community might not know here that's listening, but like tips and scales or any of that other stuff. We're knee deep in the process of supervision and updating the paperwork and all that stuff when that happens. But otherwise, they're the ones who are doing all the work.
You are correct.
We have to lean on everybody else. So from a leadership perspective, the community, whether you're starting a business, writing a book, doing a job, it doesn't matter. If you feel like you have to be alone in that process, anybody who's listening, if you feel like you have to be alone in that process, if you feel like you got to be the hero of that story, you just don't. You just have to, you have something that you have to make important to others. Otherwise, it's never going to be known by anybody.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that. I just had to elaborate on that because that is like the most important thing that I've learned since I've transitioned 6.5 years ago. I knew in the military, But my goodness, when you know nothing about the civilian world and you have to go do something there too. Uh,
Hey, look, so and that's another thing, not to delve into the ASC and promote ASC and Rock Island, but that's another reason why I wanted to come up here so I can kind of get that, get my baby steps in and see how they dialogue and see how they operate. So, again, it's been truly humbling to come in this area, this nice area, and just have an opportunity to be with family, to focus on, myself, my health, and also see how it operates in the civilian sector. Because, like you said, a mobility officer is just a big brain of knowledge. And now being here, I'm able to actually put that knowledge to use in the civilian sector versus, being with colonels and their staff. And sometimes they look at you a little, you're never here, but you're always here for the movement. You always give me a hard time. But, here it's a little different atmosphere. So I'm truly humbled to just have an opportunity to even be here to work with the civilian sector. So you brought up a real great point about that.
well, thank you for that. But again, this is about you. So if you had during the military time, during the time that you wrote this book, oh, by the way, Bree says he's the hardest working chief in the Army. Hey, you're talking to another chief here. I don't know if I'm okay with that. I'm not in the Army anymore, so I guess he is the new hardest working chief. Okay. No, but if what's something that you could share with the audience here that maybe it's to inspire, maybe it's just the lesson learned through the journey. What's one thing that you would like to share with the audience?
So I'm gonna go ahead and put my faith out on the line here and tell everyone knows me, who really knows me, knows I'm a devout Christian. And you have to put your faith in God. All right. Or if you don't believe in that, you put your faith in whatever you believe in, but you need to put your faith in something because, all this, everything that I'm doing right now is based off my faith and prayer and individuals praying for me. So, like you said, community, having a positive community around you is always going to pay dividends. It's always they're gonna uplift you. They're gonna put you, on a pedestal. They're gonna support you whenever you're down. They're gonna be there to speak on your behalf. A negative community, they're gonna bring you down. And so I always tell people, I say, hey, if you want to do anything for me, while I'm on this earth, pray for me. Pray, positive things for me, not negatives. I said, so pray for me. So I think that God deserves his praise because all this stuff is like divine. That there was never a moment in time where I felt that, hey, if I'm writing this book, I'm not going to get accomplished when I have my community, I have the prayer, and I have just support of God behind me. So I charge people. I say, hey, if you don't believe in anything, like I say, you need to walk by faith. You need to walk by faith. You need to look out and understand that there is a higher power, and I'm living proof of that because this was all in my head. This was all in my head. It just and putting it on paper is a lot easier said than done. I cannot stress it enough. I know individuals are going to say, writing a book is simple. I say, no, it is not. You gotta take time. You gotta kind of have an idea what people want to see. You gotta understand how to articulate it. It to me, for sometimes it was like writing an order. And the first thing you say it was an easy book to read. Well, that wasn't the case at first. I had numerous people say, "Look, we know you're educated. We know you like the words, you like to read. You gotta kind of make it a little, give it an equilibrium. Make it where, yes, a person who loves to read can enjoy it, but also a person who's not going to really be reading, let them enjoy it as well." So, all to say that this is all based off, my faith and my religion, and I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here at all without that.
Amen. Love it.
Praise him.
Yeah. And by the way, I can attest to what he said. I just write a bunch of pocket guides, but I did release what is somewhat my biography. It's coming out soon. As soon as it shows up in the mail, I'm going to start advertising that on my podcast. But I've got a few pieces of work here too.
Hey, I see you.
That I've done, and I'll tell you what, it may only be 60 to 80 pages per piece of work, but those stress me out more than any class I've had to put together, any briefing I've had to do, any networking event I've had to go to, any job I've ever had. I mean, it's when you have, because it's not about you. You're right. You have to think about what other people want. And I think your wife was smart in saying that 800 pages was too much, because somebody's going to pick that up and say, what is this, the Odyssey?
I know. I can't. I gotta sit here and say and be honest, man. I'm telling you, if I can go on for days about how many individuals supported me, helped me, gave me little nuggets here and there. And as a man, sometimes you want to be like, it's I came up with this, but no, I would. That is not the case. I had support from everywhere, and like you said, to emphasize on your piece about the 6 to 8 pages. The hardest part of this book was this part right here. The back of the book was the hardest part, and we spent days chugging it out. She said, "Oh, this isn't good." I show Billy. He said, "Nah." Actually, Billy helped me out. He actually hit the nail the first time. So, I again, kudos to him. But that piece, I understand what you're saying. That short verbiage, those couple of pages, they are the hardest. So yes, I concur with you on that 100%.
Yep. So yeah, I appreciate your journey. I appreciate that you've done it while probably doing college, taking care of your family, fulfilling the Army's mission, deploying, training, going other places to help other people with their mission, and doing all of that at the same time. So thank you for doing that. I can't wait to talk to you after your transition, because that's when, if it doesn't do it before then, that's when this book and your next book is really going to explode, because you're going to have the time to dedicate to getting that out into the community, and it's going to give you a new sense of purpose, and I can't wait to hear about that. So I'm praying that my podcast lasts that long, which I know it will, but if it does, I'm going to bring, I really want to bring you back on to tell that part of your story. Yeah. And that's all I have for today. For anybody who's watching, make sure that if you want to learn anything about me or watch any of my shows, or Victory Leadership Coaching, go down below me. Oh, wait. This way.
It's
right here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
And scan that QR code. It'll take you to my website. It'll take you. What it is my link tree. So you can go to my YouTube link. You can go to my social media links. You can do anything you want to from there. Learn about me. And if you want to reach out to me, there's a booking link there as well. Thank you for being with me along on this journey. And De'Angelo, thank you for taking time out of your busy day on civilian clothes day, dressed all spiffy, to come over here and be on my show. Stick around. We could talk for a little bit longer if you want to. But otherwise, that concludes another episode of Warrior Vetrepreneur Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.